Have you ever heard a silence so loud it screams? In the black kettle seam, a mine went quiet, a frightening, unnatural quiet. One day, all 47 men who walked into Pit 3 simply vanished. No struggle, no alarms, just a gone. The most chilling part wasn't the missing men, but what they left behind. A miner's tools are his lifeline, never abandoned. Yet, every single pick and shovel was found, neatly placed, as if an offering. Foreman Elliot Vance, his heart pounding a frantic rhythm against his ribs, descended into the auxiliary tunnel, a place few ever used. The air grew cold, still. The tunnel didn't lead where it should have. It opened into a vast, cathedral-like cavern, impossibly large, impossibly ancient. High above, a faint, sickly greenish light pulsed softly, like a distant, sleeping heart. And below was the answer. All 47 picks and shovels were arranged in a perfect, neat circle on the cavern floor. In the center of that circle stood the miner's boots, 47 pairs, standing upright, completely empty. As Vance crept closer, a new horror revealed itself. A network of pale green, root-like filaments was creeping over the iron heads of the tools, which seemed to be dissolving. The metal was being consumed, turned to dust, assimilated back into the clay floor. He understood then. The men hadn't been taken. The earth had simply decided to reclaim its own. Vance fled, his boots echoing in the sudden silence, carrying the terrifying knowledge that the ground beneath our feet can sometimes get hungry. Further west, in the gold fields, a different kind of emptiness was plaguing Jeremiah Finch. For 2 solid weeks, his gold pan came up with nothing, not a speck, not a flake, just crystal clear, unnervingly pure water. But the strangest part happened in his cabin. The gold dust he'd painstakingly saved over the years, locked tight in a heavy safe, had vanished. In its place, he found 32 of his own gold pans, ranged in a perfect semicircle on the floor, each one filled to the absolute brim with that same clear water. That's when a stranger arrived, a man named Elias Thorne. He wasn't interested in finding gold. He was interested in its absence. Thorne explained his theory, a wild idea about a reverse magnetic field in the region. He said it didn't repel gold, it unmade it. It dissolved its very presence, erasing it from existence. Those pans of water, he claimed, were a sign, a symbol that the river was now utterly cleaned of its potential, purified of the sickness of gold. Jeremiah looked at the clear, running water, then back at the pans in his cabin. He finally accepted the devastating truth. The treasure he had sought his whole life had been a disease, and this strange, sterile water was the cure. Meanwhile, in the small, isolated town of Elmswood, the communal fire pit was an ongoing mystery. It was used every night, burning logs to embers, yet every morning, it was completely empty of ash. Not a speck. It was chemically, physically impossible. No one could explain where the byproduct of all that combustion went. An archaeologist named Silas Vance, drawn by the anomaly, had a chilling theory. He believed the pit wasn't a pit at all, but a tiny, stable gravitational singularity, a microscopic black hole consuming the byproducts of the fire. To test his desperate theory, he performed a desperate experiment. One night, he approached the flames and fed them his most precious memories, a dried daisy from his first love, a worn copper coin his father gave him, and a faded photograph of his sweetheart. He watched as the items curled, blackened, and vanished into the fire. When the last flame died, he peered into the pit. It was, as always, perfectly clean. A cold dread washed over him. He tried to recall the name of the girl in the photograph, his sweetheart. It was gone, erased. The fire pit didn't just destroy mass, it destroyed memory. It consumed the very essence of what was lost. Travel even further, to the treacherous Kali-Davan Pass in the high mountains. Geologist Reese Thorne pitched his expedition tent on what he thought was solid ground. He woke the next morning to a profound sense of dislocation. His tent had shifted overnight by nearly 300 feet. Stranger still, when he unzipped the flap, he wasn't looking at the rocky pass. He was looking at the ocean, waves crashing on a sandy shore, though his GPS coordinates were unchanged. The next morning, the landscape had changed again, to a vast, shimmering desert of glass. The day after that, a frozen forest of crystalline trees. He realized the Kali-Davan Pass wasn't a place. It was a seam, a thin spot in reality. His tent, his tiny anchor in the world, was being pulled through a tapestry of other realities, other Earths. He was a ghost, drifting through worlds that were not his own. He finally fled, abandoning the tent, knowing it would be consumed by the shifting landscapes, lost forever in the spaces between worlds. Another man, also named Thorn, perhaps a relative, or perhaps just a coincidence of fate, found his own mystery in the Malakar Mountains. He was an acoustician, and he heard an echo that defied physics. A sharp clap of his hands would return a perfect echo from inside the hills. Exactly 3.48 seconds later, it was the same delay. No matter where he stood, his sensitive instruments confirmed the impossible. Deep within the mountains was a gigantic, perfectly spherical void, a resonant void. He eventually found a hidden entrance and descended into the cavern. The scale was breathtaking, and inside, he found a community of workers, living and working in what they called an immense, sound-reinforced silence. The 3.48-second echo he heard outside, that was the sound of their work, their hammers and voices. But inside the perfect sphere, the echo returned so fast, so perfectly, that it merged with the original sound, amplifying it, trapping it. They were prisoners of their own acoustics, living in a constant, crushing wave of their own noise, unable to hear the silence just beyond the rock. Our final story takes us to what was once the mighty Copper Creek. One day, it was simply gone, where a powerful river had carved its way through the landscape. Only a vast, dry trench of cracked mud remained. A hydrologist, Arthur Vane, was sent to investigate. In the deepest part of the dry riverbed, he found a bizarre, circular depression filled not with water, but with a thick, metallic copper sludge. His seismic sensors picked up a faint, deep, subsonic thrumming from beneath the earth. It was a steady, rhythmic pulse, like a colossal, sleeping machine. Vane put the pieces together. An immense, naturally occurring electromagnetic pump, buried deep within a massive iron deposit, had activated. It was pulling the creek's water down into the earth, filtering it, stripping it of every metallic particle, every trace element. The creek hadn't dried up, it had been stolen. Its life was being siphoned away, molecule by molecule, into the deep, dark heart of the planet. From missing miners to stolen rivers, the world is filled with quiet places where the rules we know no longer apply, where the earth itself seems to wake and remember it is a living thing, with its own secrets and its own hungers. These are the stories that remind us that we are only guests here, living on the surface of a great and ancient mystery. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed these strange tales, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you don't miss our next journey into the unknown. Stay curious. Full video link in description box.